was blind, but now I can.
Yeah, calisthenics number 12. Yeah. Fly robotics. Bifocals, my only purpose is to feed the locals. I'm spreading love when I see you and gotta approach you. I see the goodness in you, I wouldn't John with you. I know you hustling for your family just to pay the fiscal. I see the God up in you, you bless your physical. While we navigating problems, the world is abysmal. Skip the one up, let's get it to the center. Your house is big as mine, we can always help each other. Affirmation smother, it ain't even cost me a dime to uplift my brother.
Yo, what's happening, everybody? It's your man, Joe Corley. We're talking tonight on these allegations that came up against Hove. But we're not finna litigate those allegations. We're just gonna talk about the mental effects that it might have on somebody when they hear false allegations, or if they have dealt with false allegations in the past. And that's not to say that these allegations are false. We don't know what's going on, and we want to make sure that we are very clear on the fact that we're not victim bashing. We understand that there are real victims in the world who actually suffer from these sexual abuse situations, but we're not talking about that tonight. So we don't know if it's true or false, and it really doesn't have an impact on our conversation tonight. Talking to my guys here, man. You all know Q. Like I said, I've always said, if you heard the intro, you know this man. Album dropped last week, and hope that's doing well for you, brother. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it yet, but we don't get to that on the back end. And my brother Big Mac from an undisclosed location. We don't know where he is. All we know is there's a gas station around somewhere. That's all we know about him. You don't know, we don't know. But my brother Mike is going to join us in a little bit, but he's not on right now. So let me ask you guys something, man. I was trying to get to the story before I got started, but I don't have it. But let me ask you, man, when you hear allegations against anybody in the news, like, what are your initial thoughts, and like, how does it impact you emotionally or mentally, like immediately when you hear these allegations, especially against some of your favorites, man? I don't know about y'all. Hove is like, he's one of my favorites, bro. If not my favorite. But Q, man, what say you, Q?
Man, that is always a big thing, because we hear about so much that supposedly, quote unquote, goes on in the music industry, and the demonic entities that are whatever that happens, and the stuff that they do. So for the first time, I was like, nah. Usually I'm taking everything with a grain of salt, like it could be, but this one, I was like, nah, like, I gotta hear everything. But emotionally, it make you feel like that we under attack, like it be one after another. And it's like, man, we literally are under attack. Black men, masculine Black men are under attack, especially somebody that could possibly be inspirational to Black men, being a millionaire, speaking positivity, helping the community. So emotionally, it make you feel like, man, what can I do? If they can attack that man, they could take us down like a ant under a boot. So like emotionally, you feel like, man, ain't nothing I can do out here that's not gonna get attacked.
Right, absolutely, man. And like I said, with sensitivity to real victims, I can't lie. That's one of the first things I thought about too, man. Like, dang, they trying to knock us down one by one, man. You never know what's real and what's not, because most of these allegations, especially when they be so old, bro, you be like, oh my God, man, how you come back and get somebody for, something 20 plus years old. But it is what it is. Let me introduce my brother Micah here, man. He just popped in. Glad you could join us, brother.
Hey, I appreciate you. Sorry I'm late. But
It's all good, man. It's all
What's up?
good, man. We just started, man. You ain't missed too much, man. That was actually my first little question with Q going off, man. I just asked him, what kind of emotions do you feel what are your initial thoughts, and how does it impact you emotionally and mentally when you hear about some of these allegations? And I'm gonna ask Big Mac, and I'm gonna come to you, Michael.
Okay.
Well, man, I totally agree with Q and his sentiment and what he said. I mean, we just be looking like, here we go again. I mean, this guy's a prominent guy. Uh, he's been doing a great job, and with business and so forth and so on. And so many has fallen before him. So, it kind of gives you a sense of anxiety if you're successful and you making money and you become a target. So, you got to be prepared for becoming a target and ducking and dodging, allegations and so forth. Yeah, like I said, we're not going to litigate it, whether he did it or not. But one thing, I believe that trying to come out and defend yourself against those type of allegations when they just coming out of nowhere and without a name or face behind it. I mean, it just kind of stress you out and makes you be, walk on eggshells in certain situations, and just, you just got to be mentally prepared to deal with that type of stuff when you're a successful man.
Yeah, you have to, man. And do you kind of get like afraid to say out loud, like, damn, 20 years? I mean, do you start to like, damn, man, 25 years? But you be afraid to say it out loud because it's like, who listening, man? Because they gonna think you ain't shit. If just because you saying that, it's been 20 something years, you know what I mean?
Right,
Um,
right.
Michael, man, what you got to say, brother?
Yeah, a couple things. One, I think it's important that when we think about our experience as black men, and it's really easy for black men to get grouped as like a monolith. Like we all the same, we all think the same, we all do the same thing. Like you hear so many times like black men ain't, well, y'all know. And so I think it's really easy, it's really important that we kind of expand our definition of like who we are, because I think
Facts.
there's so many times where we get kind of like characterized, or I like to use the word typecasted, like, okay, well, this is who you are. And so I think for me, when I think about these allegations, the question that comes to my mind is like, how does this reflect on me? And I think that's the question that a lot of people are asking, is how does this reflect on us? Because I mean, at the end of the day, like I care about, one, I always care about victims, and two, like there are so many degrees of separation from me and these super famous people. And so, but the question is like, me, I'm down here, like I work, I work a job every day. I don't, I get off and look forward to the weekends. Like I feel like I consider myself normal. I can work a normal job, need normal person benefits and all those stuff. So how does that impact me? And I think that's the question, is when we get typecasted, when this like kind of leaves a taste in people's mouths of saying, okay, well, black men do A, B, C, and D, especially when, are there other, positive kind of responses to these things? Because, every time there's something negative happening in the news, like I feel like it takes 15, 20 positive things to kind of make up for it. And so I think that's the question that causes me anxiety, is like, okay, well, what are people going to assume about me, or am I going to be impacted by this other person's actions? And that's challenging, and it's something that we can't really control.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right, man. You are impacted whether you understand it or not. You know what I mean? And you kind of looking at a situation like when they talk about, oh, so and so shot up the school, right? And what's the first thing you want to know? Was he black? Was he black?
It's a
Because
fact.
we don't need another one of them situations, man. And with this one, man, we like, this is Hove, man. You know what I mean? Like whether we we have feelings, we have personal feelings about Hove, man. That's what it is, man. Especially if you're of a certain age, you know what I mean? So it does impact you emotionally, man. It's like one of your heroes going down. Like I remember how I felt when they was going after Bill Cosby, man. You know what I mean? I was like, damn, man, that was Cliff Huxtable. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like this don't feel right. This don't feel good at all, man. But I do want to keep. I want to stay on that lane, man. I want to explore, like, you know what I'm saying, the burden that that black men carry to like uphold themselves in a certain way uh, for the sake of the whole culture. You know what I mean? Like, because if one of us look bad, like Michael was saying, it's like it has an impact on all of us, man. Big Mac, man, what you think about that, brother?
Man, of course, it impacts us all because society treat us, like a monolith, like we all do the
Yeah,
same thing. Of course, you grew up with the stereotype, y'all sell drugs and, y'all rob and steal and so forth. So we as black men, I know myself, I'm consciously aware of that. And I do things, intentionally to make sure I project a great image, carry myself the right way in public, I talk a certain way. I don't play or listen to certain music in front of just anyone and so forth. So it's kind of stressful,
thanks, man.
and kind of unfair in a way that we have to do these things as black men, and instead of just being ourselves and being looked upon as just individuals and good human beings, we gotta fight these stereotypes and these negativities all day, every day. And of course, you get blamed for something, and everybody look at you the same way, and now you got to carry that burden upon yourself and in the community. So that's just the day and age we living in right now.
Oh man, bro, you hit it, man, bro. You hit a lot of stuff right on the head, man. Talking about the burden we got to carry and how we show up um, in in society, like what you said about listening to music or certain music in front. Bro, that's real, man.
Facts,
That's
man.
real, bro. That is 100% real, man. You can't do with everybody because if you're wondering, oh, is he one of them or one of them? Is he one of the good boys
Right.
or not? You know what I mean? Like, is he one of them? Um,
That's facts.
yeah. But Michael, let me ask you, man, how does hearing about these allegations, like, how does it make you reflect as far as like your own actions and fear and like Big Mac was talking about, like your fear of being misunderstood, man?
No, I think that's a great question. Well, a couple things I want to say first. I want to like acknowledge the victims first, and I think like we like collectively have to do that because at the end of the day, like there's a lot of things that just like we, like these people still are, you know, experiencing these things, and so I want to make sure that I acknowledge that too, like the victims and the fact that I'm so sorry that there are people who've had to deal with these things. And I don't want to make sure that we kind of confront this like conversation with empathy too, on that front, because there are two things that exist at the same time. One, that this is an experience that so many people have kind of been affected by this man's actions and shouldn't have. And on the same time, this experience is making so many other people who's completely not impacted by his act, doesn't have any say in that, our lives harder. And so we kind of have to juggle that. And I think for me, what that looks like is, I think that the mindfulness question that was, or like being mindful of what we say, what we do, how we behave. I think that's a reality, and it's a reality that we have long since kind of had, and it's an unfair pressure, And I think when we talk about unfair pressure, it's something that the white man ain't gonna have to deal with all the time. It's like, okay, well, we show up a certain way, and we walk too close behind you, like, and you go clutch your purse, like that's a different type of reality. And so I think that's important. I think the conversation of intersectionality is really important here, because when we talk about our experience, one as just men in general, and then two layered on as like black men, and so it's really kind of confusing sometimes because we as like as a gender, we have a lot more power. But then
Right.
like you act it on as like being a black man, and it gets really confusing to understand, where do we really fit in here? Where do we fit in society? What's our dynamic? How do we actually support each other? And so I think there was a question about do we do we have those stereotypes with each other? And I think there. I mean, that's the reality. I think with any stereotypes, it's called internalized racism. Yeah, like there are definitely stereotypes that we carry with each other, and that's something that we have to individually work through. But I think to kind of put all a bow on that is that one, we have to acknowledge too that, like, you know, our actions and our behaviors are impacting people, and we are accountable for those. And also we shouldn't be accountable for the actions and behaviors of other people. And so this man who's a multimillionaire who did all this stuff 20 years ago, like, why does that follow me? I'm not sure, but we still have to deal with it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And don't got the billions to deal with it either. You know what I mean? It always seems to hit the guy on the street with more impact than the guy up in the ivory tower. You know what I mean? Like I said, you know, and I think it's worth repeating over and over again that, you know, we have respect and empathy for all the victims, man. This is not that conversation. We're not here to shame this woman, whoever she might be, and, you know, make her out and litigate this case and make her out to be a liar. That's not what we're talking about. But, you know, there is another side to this story, right? There's the impact on the people who have to deal with false allegations. You know what I mean? When they occur, you know, there's also the people that, you know, like look at this. It says, "I'm glad that this is encouraging fear. This behavior occurs when people do not fear the repercussions of their actions." Now I look at that, Dion, and I say, I'm gonna leave it up. I'm gonna look at this and I say, what do you think that what kind of fear do you think this needs to be encouraged? You know what I mean? This is you know, because first of all, you know, we understand that if you sexually assault someone, that you're going to prison. You know what I mean? Like there's no extra fear, I will hope, that needs to be. If you're going to sexually assault somebody and you already know the consequences of that, then, you know, you probably, you know, are not afraid of the consequences already. You're going to do that regardless, or whatever the case may be. No, we're talking about more of, you know, not understanding what happens to you when you are in a situation like this, and you know, you don't necessarily, you can't protect your own reputation. You know what I mean? It doesn't because. Go ahead, Big Mac.
No, I just want to address this comment. I don't know what angles she's saying this in, but this shouldn't be encouraging fear in none of us, because if we not operating like that, why should I incur some fear because someone else did something that I should incur? I mean, that is crazy to me if that's what she's saying. So that's not a statement that should be probably put up, that this should encourage fear. I should be walking around fearful that somebody going to falsely accuse me of something. That's crazy to me. But go ahead.
That's what I was trying to say, brother. You said it a lot better. Go ahead, Q.
This goes back to what you was talking about, impact, like the impact that you know, things that's outside of, you know, certain black communities, that happens when people see people on a larger black man on a larger scale, you know, specifically us black men, and not just men in general, but it happens to them men in general too. But for black men, we are feared, and this is the impact that it has. They want us to be feared and fearful, but, you know, like it comes back to, everybody's not like that. Everybody's not a monolith, you know, and so for us to be feared like that, so it makes us, you know, our inner self is probably the only good word I got for it. Make our inner self try to make people comfortable when we don't have to. Like, I shouldn't live my life trying to make you comfortable because you're in fear of what I might do, or what because has been done to you. Like we all should be you know, courteous and considerate about, you know, the things that we do, but to have us be feared because we are being put in a, a box. It's like it's not what we supposed to be going through. Like I shouldn't have to make you comfortable because I walk past you.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, that's go ahead, Michael.
I think a different word would be accountability. And I think that's maybe the question is how do instances where people are actively and rightfully being convicted of things, how does this encourage a sense of accountability? And I think that's important, is that we know that we are accountable for our actions, and also we are accountable to not just ourselves but also the other people that we share the planet with. And so that's the question that I ask. But being falsely accused of things doesn't promote accountability. It promotes anxiety. And it makes the situation more confusing for us, for ourselves, for the other people who walk around in the same shoes. It makes things more confusing. And so I think that's the kind of the twofold question, is how do we encourage more accountability within Black men in general, in just as a whole, but also accountability. There's a sense of like honesty that comes with accountability. And I think that's what we're missing, is in order to hold somebody accountable, you have to also like understand that they are and believe that they are capable of more. And the question is, people who are making these allegations, like, do you believe that we as Black men are capable of more? And I think that's just an important question.
Yeah, I want you to talk a little more about that, man, because I feel like the connection is not necessarily being made. So talk a little more about what you mean by accountability.
Yeah. So when we think about the idea that we are, responsible for our behaviors, and so I think the quote was, or the question was about, I'm glad that fear is coming up. And I think that when we talk about like, when we do something because out of a sense of fear, that's not healthy. Like your behavior shouldn't be made out of a sense of fear. When I sit with clients, I say, okay, well, you're doing this because you're afraid. Our fearful minds don't make good decisions. And so that's not the desire. Okay, well, I'm not going to do this because I'm afraid. I'm not going to do this because, like, what could happen? That's anxious thinking.
Okay.
That doesn't help us. But when
Yeah,
we
like Joe, you said, partner body, Micah. Like Joe, you said, when somebody's showing fear, it's probably is a response to a different emotion like anger and stuff like that. So I just want to interject that.
No, thank you for that. Absolutely. It's the fear is not a way that we should operate, And so rather, when a sense of personal accountability is saying that I'm responsible for the actions that I have. And so I'm responsible for what I do. I'm responsible for, the people that I come into contact, for how, my actions impact other people. I'm responsible for all those things. And so we have to uphold a sense of personal accountability, which means that we make decisions and that we're responsible for those decisions. And so 100%. If the situation brings up a sense that, we're going to be responsible for the decisions that we make, and it leads to more people being accountable, then that's a different conversation than say, we need to operate out of fear because at any point, you're going to be falsely accused. Operating out of fear is not healthy for anybody.
No, exactly. And that's the point I wanted you to make, man, because, we walking around, and when stuff like this comes out, it's like, who is next? You know what I mean? Who could be next? It could be you next. And it doesn't take much of anything in order for you to now, if you were watching earlier the Fly Nubian show, I shared publicly that I went through this, myself. And that's really honestly the first time I've ever talked about that in public, because I'm really still trying to, I'm in therapy once a week trying to deal with, as a therapist, trying to deal with the repercussions of and the aftermath of being falsely accused of something like this, and going through a trial and understanding what little amount of evidence. Actually, you don't need any evidence at all to have somebody fight these type of cases for several years. So I remember talking to my attorney, and I said, but there's no evidence. And, the response was, her word is the evidence. You know what I mean? So And I heard somebody earlier saying, that if you can avoid these type of situations by not putting yourself in these type of situations and all that. I said to myself, man, you can just be minding your own business or trying to do purposeful things like I was doing to help younger people, and you can get caught up in some of this kind of stuff, man. So there really is no, honestly, there is no way of avoiding these type of things. When you talk about, like Mike was saying, it's not good for us to operate in fear, but typically that's what we have to operate in. You know what I mean? And it's not good, and nobody should operate in that. But we are operating in fear all the time for the most part. If it's not some kind of sexual allegations, it's some kind of racial discrimination or something like that. That's you literally every time you step outside your door, man, you're operating in some type of fear, man. So there's no need, there's no need for this to invoke any type of fear, because we got that already for the most part. And you can, I remember I used to drive around, and when I first got my license, and and people would be kind of fearful of the police pulling you over, and I used to say, boy, they pull me over, they ain't gonna have nothing but a conversation. That's not true anymore. It could be anything. If that police officer is having a bad day, you're gonna get racked up. But yeah, man. So you see me kind of, like moving with a little anxiety right now, like I said, because I never really publicly shared any of this, any of my experiences in the court. But I'm gonna share this thing, and I'm gonna move on to somebody else. The jury selection. Okay, I actually went through 2 trials, right? So, and I don't know if you've ever been in a courtroom for an actual jury selection before, but I had never been up until this point. So, it's a good number of people. I would say 60, right? No, it was actually exactly 60. And, they can't give any details about the case. So, the prosecutor is putting up any and everything that they can put up to invoke, I don't know, emotions in the jury or whatever, and basically start to ask questions so that some of these jury members can eliminate themselves. So I'm sitting there, and what's on the screen? First, one of the first things they put Bill Cosby up there. It said, if this man can be a rapist, so can this man. It's talking about me. You know what I mean? And I remember the feeling that I got from that, man. Like, wow. So to your point, does it affect you when celebrities, do these things or get accused of these things? I'm here to tell you it 100% impacts you. It 100% impacts you. They used Bill Cosby, a prominent black man, to try to move the jury against me when you can't have any details about the case. So it was like, hey, you're going to hear a lot of good things about this man, but we heard a lot of good things about this guy too, and we see where that went. And that's kind of what they was trying to do, man. So I just wanted to share that with y'all, man. It's if you've never been inside when they're doing that type of stuff, man, because it's actually terrifying. But let me ask you this, man. Let me ask you this, Q.
Before you say that, thank you for sharing that, man. We appreciate you being honest. Yeah. Man.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, so I'm trying to be vulnerable, because like I said, vulnerability is this, and I'm vulnerable about most things, man. But honestly, this situation only wrapped for me 2022. 2022, I think. So it's been less than 2 years. I know that for a fact. So it's still kind of fresh, and I'm still kind of recovering. You know what I mean? Like, you lose so much. I lost 5 years of my life. I lost probably upwards of around $500,000. You know what I mean? I can't even begin to tell you what all the other things that I had to lose because of this. And when it's all over, you don't get that stuff back.
Didn't that make you angry, Joe? Because I would be really angry.
Yeah, man. I had to You know what I mean? I had to go through. I mean, it was a long journey, brother. You know what I'm saying? I went through therapy, and I was in therapy every week for about 5 years straight. But in the process of that, man, I was losing my identity. My identity was wrapped up in how well I know what I was doing for the community. So what the objective was in this trial was to basically call that stuff out as weird, because I'm helping young people, and it was all brought into question. So in losing my identity, I actually tried to take my own life. You know what I mean? Because I was just fed up with, if I can't do this thing that I've been doing for all these years, then who am I really? You know. So there's so many consequences to what it was. But anger sets in, and then it moves to constant anxiety. Because that's when you start to realize, oh, these folks is really trying to put me in prison.
It's crazy.
I didn't realize that at first. Like, I really thought that whatever this was, it was going to be over in a few months. Well, it ended up lasting 5 years. You know what I mean? Because of the attempt to drain me of my resources so that I would take a plea. But I had to stand on my name. You know what I mean? And even if I couldn't afford it some days, and I was really draining of my resources, I had to stand on my name. You know what I mean? And I fought to the end. And two trials later, it took two trials, because the first one was hung jury. But eventually, I got my name back, and I'm starting to work on rebuilding that. But no, I appreciate that, man. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something, Q. What role does the media play in shaping the way we respond to some of these things when we hear them, these public allegations?
Man, the media plays a big part, man. Like, it's tantalizing, right, for people to feel like a black man is fearful nowadays. Like, I'm just gonna say it straight. Like, and I ain't racist. I have all type of friends, but it's tantalizing. Like, and people take that, they gonna take it to heart. They gonna start closing their door. There's a black man next to you. So when they perpetuate us being the person that needs to be feared, it's tantalizing to people, and they gonna take it and they gonna internalize that, and then they gonna show through their behavior. You know what I'm saying? I know Michael was talking about accountability amongst self, but a lot of people don't take accountability for their behavior to, like, use what the media says to them as a tool to just be fearful of us. So, like, the media plays a big part. Used to be back in the day when we was younger, like, we'd watch our cartoons or whatever, our favorite show, Cosby shows or whatever. And then after that, the news would come on, and mama said, yeah, it's time to turn these shows off. Let me watch the news. And maybe sometimes you could have believed most of that. Nowadays, it's to perpetuate clicks. It's to get their media source out there. So they play a big part. And you already know who is the victim of that. Is most of the time is gonna be a black man. That's why, like you said in the beginning, hey man, when the school gets shot up or this place gets shot up, what's the first thing we ask, man? Let me see. I hope they wasn't black. Because even like somebody was asking one of the questions about if we perpetuate that on ourselves. And yeah, we do, because even us, as black men, strong black men, good black men, like, we ain't criminals or nothing. We still gonna be like, hold on, that sound like Shorty from down the street. Like, who was that shooting over there? And that's the first thing we're gonna think until we see, and we get a collective, fresh air, a breath of fresh air. Like, oh, it wasn't us this time, because that's what we expect. We expect to see us, put under a microscope and shown to be we the Joker in Gotham City, like.
Yeah, no doubt. No, 100%. Mike, you got something to say, brother?
Yeah, something that you mentioned kind of brought up a thought. I think the thing when I talk to black men, the big thing that comes up is like this issue of trust and how hard it is to trust people. And even like kind of when you're working through a process of like how much time does it take to build rapport or build like a good relationship with somebody. It takes us this question of trust. Why does it take us so long to trust people? And there's a lot of reasons. One, it's we're taught that well, you got to be careful because at any point, somebody's going like you're gonna be out to get you, or you start to trust people and they leave, or it could lead to be because of some kind of wounds that you have from growing up, where somebody important from you left, but also things like this kind of further the difficulty is that there is this difficulty with trust, and the reality is that it's something that society has kind of formed and shaped. Like I find it very hard to trust people. Me personally, I find it hard to trust people because I don't really know what your intentions are. I don't know. Are you out to get me? Are you out to do something harmful for me? What are you planning to do? And then so it takes me a while to let down walls for people. And I think that's just the reality of living in America, is that we have to be so mindful and critical of the fact that, okay, well, if we do let down these walls and trust people, then what could happen?
Yeah.
And also though, it's this kind of two-handed thing because it's so hard to, and also in order to be successful in life, we have to. Like it's not optional. We can't do this by ourselves. We can't live life by ourselves. And so I think that's what's really hard is when you see things like this happening in the media and you're saying, oh man, that could have been me. I could have done something like that too. That just builds up the walls a little bit more. And that's not a healthy way to live. But also that's kind of the way that we have to live. And so I kind of struggle with that. It feels like I live in tension a lot. Because it's like I need to trust people. I need to be more vulnerable with people. And also, I need to be in a space, too, where I feel like that vulnerability is going to be honored. It's going to be appreciated. It's going to be protected. And that's not always the case.
No, not at all, man. And, I think people fail to realize sometimes that the civil rights movement was like less than 100 years ago, bro. You know what I mean? So we're being raised by that generation who lived through that. You know what I mean? And the programming that we have endured from that, and we talking about also the media and all the other things that we have learned about what trust is and how to protect ourselves and how we have to be on guard at all times, bro. You have to there's so much unlearning. We're just getting into spaces like this. And Michael was here at the top of the show. I should say he's a therapist too. But there's so much unlearning that we have to do to just to try to function in today's society. When you talk about trust, when you talk about being vulnerable and what that actually means and how it's not a weakness, and when you talk about shame and guilt and all the other things, there's so much for us to unlearn because of all of this programming that we were brought up with,
Right.
And if you go ahead, Big Mac.
Right, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead. I'm done.
Well, I just wanted to draw that point that you're making when and you asked about so forth how media has an agenda. Media have narratives they want to paint, especially about us as black men. I mean, it's been going on for decades and decades and decades. And of course, you can look at the TV shows that are on now compared to when we were growing up. So they're still painting this narrative of black men and black women and so forth. And then one of the things you have to say, media perpetuate things by not asking the simple question, where's the proof? Okay, we got these allegations. Now we got to be fair in our coverage, and we got to start asking for the proof. Some things need to come out. Show us the evidence. If you're sitting on the evidence, why are you waiting to release it? Or why are you even going the civil route instead of the criminal route. That's one of the big things I see and so forth. That it's crazy to me. If a wrong is done, I don't care about how much money you got or how much money you're going to give to me. I'm going to make sure you pay for this, not financially by rotting in prison. If this is something that you have done to a person or an individual, then you got to pay. You got to be under the jail. You got to, and also face that financial penalty. But I'm going that route, and the media doesn't do well, especially in the case of us, giving us the benefit of the doubt or saying, let's look at things fairly from both ends. And I'm going to tell this short story. I was overseas one time, and I was talking to, I was in the Middle East. I was in Dubai, and I met someone, and we were just chit-chatting and so forth. And they asked me, do I have a gun? And I'm like, why you ask me, do I have a gun? And the person said, because I always see black people in movies with guns and robbing. This is a true statement, true story. I'm quoting it over verbatim. And I just shook my head and started laughing. And that really hit me in a certain kind of way, in a disappointment and in a kind of an angry kind of way, that's how we're perpetuated, even or seen even overseas in other countries. And that to me was just crazy. So that's why I'm the type of guy, I don't care who you are or whatever, how sorry the story is, the sob story is, or whatever story, or how bad are the allegations. I need to see proof to convict any man or any woman. I'm not just going to go off accusations, because I know people lie and have their own narratives and agenda. But our perception and image, we have to protect that. And I'm just one of those type that I like the way Jay-Z did things. I don't know if he's innocent or guilty, but if he is innocent, this is how the way you go do it. You attack the person that's trying to attack you and make them provide the proof and the evidence and so forth and so on.
It's easy. It's super easy to assume that somebody with darker skin is doing something wrong because they sensationalize it so much. So whatever's happening, it's going to be easy to assume like, oh yeah, this person did it. And like, I don't want to keep bringing it back to it just black men, because it's not, but it's just it's easily assumed that we did something because they sensationalize it on the media.
Right. I think it's black people as a whole, really. Like, I mean, I think too, like, this is a history. Like, this is a history that is formed out of racism. And it was very clear in the history books, like, how do you gain power? You continue to lock people up, and you provide false allegations, and you change the rules, and you so this is a historical problem. It's not something that just started. And so yeah, this is systematic. Yeah, this is so we can't forget that. Like, this is how the system was designed. It wasn't designed for us. It was not designed for us. And so I think that's an important word that you said, brother.
So listen, that's what I want to piggyback on that, man. It is not designed for us, bro. And like everything that you're saying, Big Mac is what I would hope, a juror would have in his mind, right? Is that I need to see the evidence, I need to see the proof before I take someone's whole life away. You know what I mean? I thought this was important here, talking about, the old generation teachings and the programming and how it's painted a narrative when jurors or suburban whites see us that we are judged wrongly. Brother, I don't want to mess your name up, but Brother Johnson, I'm gonna say, man, that's so important. Because I remember when I was sitting there, like, I was trying to make sure that I had on the right tie. I took my earrings out. I shaved my beard down. I mean, I was doing everything I could not to look threatening. You know what I mean? Because I knew the way that I looked, and I was told the way that I looked had so much impact on whether or not, the jury was gonna see things my way. And that shouldn't be the case. The evidence should tell the story. It shouldn't matter how I look, how I come in there and what I'm wearing and how my hair looks and all these other things. But that's just not the case, man. And my first jury was all white. Was all white. 10 white women. And I'll tell you that.
Man.
When that jury, two
Man.
white men, 10 white women. When I tell you that jury selection, I didn't understand it, right? So first, the jurors eliminate themselves, right, with their biases. So it's like, okay, you got a bias, you openly state your bias, you get eliminated. And then I can't remember how many it is, but I think it's 10 and 10. The prosecution gets to eliminate 10, and the defense gets to eliminate 10, and then you're left with who's left, but it's going to be the first 12 all the way up into 60. So the brothers, the couple of brothers that might have been for me, I didn't understand this at first because they didn't get eliminated, because they eliminated all the black people in the front, right? But the ones that were in the back, they didn't eliminate them. Why? Because it goes in numerical order. So they was never going to get to them. They was in like the 50s and the 40s. So there's the first 12 out of the people that was remaining. So when I saw that, because I was like, oh wow. And let me tell you something, man. It's a scary thing, brother. It's a scary thing because of what we're talking about here. The biases that are perpetuated by the media and whatnot. It's like you gotta wear your degrees around your neck. Right. You know what I mean?
And even if you do, you know what they say. For us, it's guilty until proven innocent, and not the other way around.
No, that's what it was, man. That's what it was. And go ahead, Michael.
I'm sorry, finish your thought.
No, I'm done with it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think something you said was important though, because you said it's about perception. So even if you don't go to trial, even if there's not like a criminal conviction, the perception and the reputation is just as important, really. Like, and so that we have to also think like, okay, well, there's all the legal problems which can end somebody's life. Like you can get in the penitentiary real quick for legal problems, but you could also lose your job. You could lose your friends. You could lose a lot of things if the perception. So I think that's also why it's important that we are mindful of the things that we take in as well. The things that we like, the types of media that we're looking at, and the types of things that, and even like how much we're acknowledging how much power some of these media sources have over us. Shoot, like, y'all know how messy the shade room is actually, but like how much like that one app just be destroying people's lives. Like they just post everything on there. I'll be looking at Instagram sometimes and I'm like, that can't be true.
And they word it in a way, right? They word it, in a way that makes you kind of already tilt your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and most people too lazy to go do the research for themselves. So
nobody's doing the research.
I'm one of them. I'm too lazy. I'll be looking like, I'll be telling people like, y'all, did you see this? Like it's a bad. I'm the same way.
Yeah. But like you said, Micah, though, about accountability, right? So accountability is it comes in rare forms. And the music industry, they got to be accountable for the way people conceive them because they put it out there like that. So when something happens in the music industry, like specifically in Hollywood, like you're probably gonna get 80% of people who believe exactly what you was accused of because of the way y'all are perceived. Like, so they got to take accountability for how they made themselves a big powerful structure like that.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true. And I'll say this. Let me just touch on this right quick. Jay-Z and others rap about being drug dealers and slanging dope and drinking and alcohol and partying. So, they think that street leads to all things bad. So you could throw any allegation against them and it'll be more than likely believed because this is the guy that rapped about selling drugs and to his community and blah, 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 and this and that. So he probably more than likely did this other thing without even having any facts. So yeah, they do it to themselves a lot. And Jay-Z was younger back then, and I don't know if he's just, I'm pretty sure he done changed from being that young and doing a lot of things, but they that's self-accountability. You open yourself up to that. You wasn't thinking 10, 20, 30 years down the road. So
Yeah. I remember I was teaching, and this girl, she was from Brazil. She was in my class, and she had just got to America. You know what I mean? She didn't understand a whole lot of the culture, yet. So, she was, really happy that I was helping her, and she just jumped up and kissed me on the cheek, right? And I ran, literally. I mean, class abandoned. I abandoned my whole class. I ran to the principal's office. By the time I got down there, my whole face was covered in tears, bro. And I remember I was terrified of them. I had done nothing wrong, but I ran to the principal's office to tell him, to say, "Hey, this just happened." And they moved that girl out of my class, man. And I felt really bad because she didn't know any better. You know what I mean? And she didn't talk to me for months because she thought she had did something wrong. You know what I mean? But she didn't know any better because she had literally just got to the States. So I mean, that's the type of stuff that that we're dealing with. I bring that up to talk about the fear. You know what I mean? The fear, because once I think, I can't remember, one of you brothers, I think it was Micah, that said once you get accused of these type of things, it's more than the money. It's like the reputation and all these things that might not be repairable. I'm pretty sure for as long as I live, there will be somebody who thinks I did this thing. You know what I mean? Like there will be somebody who does that, and there will be somebody. There were people who who will never be my friends again because of the accusations when they came out. I lost a lot of people who I helped tremendously, who I would have never would have thought would turn me away and slap my. These people walked away from me. Some of my own family members that there's some members in my own family have not come back, and I haven't asked for them to come back either. But you know what I mean? Like it's amazing. You think you think you understand it, and it actually happens to you. You're like, wow, people really do turn on you. Like it's a real thing. You know what I mean? And I'll never get a lot of this stuff back, man. It'll never come back. But let me move the conversation forward, man. I want to talk about how the actions of public figures like this, like, can they lead to stress and pressure? We kind of touched this already, man, but I want to go into it real quickly, man. How it brings up pressure for us to kind of lead the community, and so to speak, especially brothers is doing positive things. You know what I mean? Like, do you feel any stress or pressure to lead the community? I'm gonna start with you, Micah.
Yeah, I think the stress and the pressure for me comes when when all your decisions are going to be under a microscope, and everything that you do and everything you say, that's stress inducing. There's this concept, Joe, I'm sure you may have heard about this, but it's called psychological safety. Have y'all ever heard about that?
Yeah.
It's this idea where we feel like we are going to be in an environment where we are safe to make decisions, safe to make mistakes. We'll receive grace. We will, like if something happens, like we're not going to be at fault. We feel safe psychologically. And so it's not physical safety. It's not like emotional safety. It's psychological safety, where we say, I don't always have to have my brain running, asking what's next, what's going to happen, what if I do this? We feel safe. And so when we think about people who make good leaders, honestly, people who make good employees, they say one of the biggest predictors of being successful at a job is if your job promotes psychological safety. If you make a mistake, are you going to be okay? If you do this, are you going to be okay? Are they going to yell at you? Are they going to scream at you? And so I think within our community too, we have to ask what things are contributing to psychological safety and what things aren't contributing to psychological safety. What things aren't the fear that, you're going to be accused of something that you didn't do, or two, the fear that you're going to make a mistake and you're not going to be able to like move on from it. What things do contribute? Well, there's accountability, there's grace, there is when you do make mistakes, you're actually like informed of why this was a mistake and what to do better next time. Those are the things that contribute to psychological safety. So when I think about the word leadership, of how do we lead a community, I think that we have to ask ourselves a question: do we feel safe in order to like progressing the way that we are? Do we feel like we are psychologically safe? And that, I think that's the biggest hindrance to leadership. For both men and women. Like, if we don't feel like we're going to be safe and supported and accounted for, then we're not going to be able to really progress as a people.
Man.
Sure.
Yeah. You dropped some gems on that one, brother. For sure. Big Mike, man. I know how you feel already, man, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Do you feel any stress or pressure to lead the community, to stand up for the community?
Well, I'll put it like this. I try not to walk around with any fear,
Yeah.
because I'm just not going to let people, have me walk around here afraid and on pin cushions and on needles. But I try to lead in a way that if you get falsely accused of anything, you better hit it and show your outrage and anger about that accusation with everything you have, because your name, your reputation will be tarnished. It's going to be tarnished regardless, just because of the accusation. Even though you could be innocent, everybody know you innocent, they have all the proof, the person could say they lied, that you still going to be tied to certain words or that stigma around you that you was involved in. And then people will look at you a certain type of way just to make sure, even though they know you didn't do it, but just to make sure. But I lead by having no fear, but being cognizant of things that's going on and how the world is working. And with me, I'm going to come with the anger. I'm not going to even lie to you. Somebody falsely accused me, I'm coming with anger. I'm going to try to destroy that person with everything I have. Even after it's over with, I'm going to try to destroy them, because they tried to destroy my life and people around me, my family, and so forth and so on. So that makes you, look at the world in a different light, or look at situation in different lights, and not maybe talk to this person or that person, or you gotta have an audience or a crowd around you if you want to talk to someone. So, but I just try to provide a leadership. Hey, tackle these problems head on. Don't be quiet. Don't listen to a lawyer say, hey, let me take care of this. I'm going to be yelling with the bullhorn. I'm going to be disparaging to that person who made those accusations against me and so forth. I'm not going to let that ride. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down trying to swing on that person pretty in every way. And that's how I'm going to lead. And that'll stop them from making false accusations. And that'll also show other men that you need to tackle this and take it very seriously, because they're trying to come for your head, like you said, Joe. They put Bill Cosby up in your trial and said, Bill Cosby could do this. This guy could. That is crazy. I probably would have snapped on a DA. And don't even get me started on these district attorneys. I probably would have snapped. Yeah. If I would have been going to jail, that's what I would have been going to jail for, snapping on the DA in the courtroom. They'd have had to drag me out of there.
Yeah, man. The problem is
to do it, but it's me. I'm just showing that I'm going to fight it with everything that I got. Yeah. And I'm glad.
The problem is, but the problem is, you asked me about this earlier, man. The problem is you can't. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get angry, because the first thing somebody's gonna say is, hit dog holler or something crazy like that. Not knowing and understanding what it took for you, me, and the rest of these brothers to build that reputation, to get to the, and that's why you're getting angry, man, because of all of the things that you put in to being. I know that's why I got angry. I don't want to buy any. I got angry because all the things that I put into being who I was, and I was really trying to be something that I never saw for a lot of different young people growing up, man. And so having that hit me, it made me angry, but I couldn't show my anger, so it just came out, and because it had nowhere to go, it just came out as an anxiety, and it was crippling anxiety. Like I couldn't even, I could, barely stand some days. I've never experienced anything like that, brother. Like it was, and it got to the point where it's like I think I'd rather be dead than to continue to experiencing this anxiety. It's way too much. It's overwhelming. But you know what? It's getting around that time, man. We know we could talk about this for hours, man. We got so much things, and I really appreciate everybody coming to the space, man. I can see each week how folks are talking in the chat, and I can see how how much these type of conversations are needed more and more each time we have them. So, like I said, man, y'all keep showing up, man, and keep coming and having these conversations. We gonna be honest. We gonna be vulnerable. You know what I mean? This ain't, if you, like I said, it's a show for everybody. So if you want one of them Toxic Brother shows, they got that for you somewhere else.
This ain't it though.
They got that for you somewhere else, but this ain't that. So Q, man, I want to get your final thoughts on everything, and tell us what you got to say before we close it out, man.
Man, I just wanted to say, nowadays we got to look at it, like when we say helping the community and community, like we gotta think about what that look like nowadays. Like it ain't the same as it was, when we was growing up, like where it took a village to raise one of our children, and our aunties and uncles, they was always around, helping people feed each other, like helping the community look so different now. So like, yeah, it's gonna be stressful because you got to find out how you really can do that. Because honestly, I I went through the same. Well, I ain't go through the same thing as you, but I coached. Don't want to coach no more. Heard what happened to you. I'm like, man, that's why can't even really take a lot of stuff serious. So what I try to do, like especially speaking on this music thing, like is I try to stop the bleed out from what's going on with the kids now. So my music, I try to make it as positive as possible and tell the kids that they ain't gotta uh, you know, they ain't gotta be like Jay-Z, they ain't gotta be like Jeezy, they don't gotta be like Young Thug, murdering people or whatever, whatever they was accused of. So that's like my way of trying to help my community because it looks so different now. Like, so yeah, it's a big stressful thing. So if you want to see how how I'm trying to help my community, please go listen to my album, man. It's called Authentic Intelligence. It's on all streaming platforms. It's under the name Fly Robotics. You can find it everywhere. And if you just want to take a peek, you can even come to my Instagram and just see how I move because that's how I move nowadays. I'm fully about positivity. I still get on your ass, but I'm positive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm about 11 songs in, bro. The album's incredible, man. I can't wait for the back nine, man. I mean, you said it was long, but you wasn't
Yeah.
joking, man. I'm about 11 songs in, man. It's incredible. It's incredible so far, brother. Big Mac,
Thank
man. Talk to us, man. What's your final thoughts as we close out today, man?
My final thoughts on everything is so far, take care of your mental health when these things happen. Surround yourself with people that are supportive. As you grow up and the things that we do, be cognizant of your reputation. Be careful of the things you do and say out in public. Make sure you surround yourself with great organizations, groups, be active in the community as much as possible, and build that fence around yourself so when things do fly your way, that are false or somebody falsely accusing you of something, you'll have people that stand up for you and to go up to bat for you. I think that's a really important things that we need to do as a community more, is to be more involved in organizations and do a lot of positive things. And last but not least, hey, if somebody falsely accuse you, defend yourself with all your might and will that you have, because your name is going to be dragged through the mud, and no one, even if it come to find out that you're innocent, no one going to come give you an apology and say, hey, be sorry. So just be cognizant of your environment and the things you do and the perception you put out there to the world.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Michael, go ahead and close us out, brother.
Yeah, well, thank y'all for being on here. It's been a great discussion. One comment that I wanted to pinpoint. Someone said, I always believe women, but I'm going to reserve judgment and see how things play. Great discussion. Have a good night, everyone. And I want to like acknowledge too that, like, you know, I want to be clear that this conversation is very much in support of Black women and Black men and also Black women. And so I want to make sure that people like kind of got that from this conversation, is that, you know, we are very much here like wanting to make sure that the Black women who have experiences, or women just in general who experience this, you know, that y'all's experience is valid and acknowledged. And so I wanted to make sure we ended on a note there, but also to the brothers who are doing what they need to do. Like, you are very much seen and appreciated. And I know I talk to a lot of men who say, I don't feel that, or I don't get the pat on the back that I need. And I mean, one, I see you. And also, like, we have to do a better job of patting ourselves on the back, but also patting each other on the back, because there are so many people who are working hard, trying to take care of their families, trying to do the right thing, trying to be on the up and up. And that we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that, and we have to continue to support and encourage each other, because it's so important. And so thank you for all the brothers who are doing what they're supposed to do, who are really like helping our community thrive, because, you know, what you do is so needed, and it's important that you hear that.
Let me say one thing, please. I can't help myself. To put it wrong, I'm not going to believe all women, and I'm not going to believe all men. So unless you show me the proof and come with the facts, I'm not going to believe everybody, because men and women lie all the time. I see it all the time. So that fact, you always gonna believe all women, hey, go ahead, because it's gonna turn on you. Somebody gonna lie on you, and then you won't have that perspective anymore. But no, everyone shouldn't be always believed.
Yeah, no, I fully understand that there are women who do not report these type of things, who suffer from these things, and that some women who do report these things and don't have proof, and these things happen. I understand that happens. However, and even before I say that, even experiencing what I experienced, man, you know, I'm not jumping off the porch saying all women are lying, or, you know, all men are lying, or nothing. But Big Mac is right. You know, men and women lie. You know, and you can't throw somebody's life away. You know, and I'm speaking now again from personal experience. You can't throw somebody's life away. It's very difficult for you to throw someone's life away without proof, man. It is very, very hard to do that. And I haven't experienced that myself. It's really, really hard for me to say, man, because I know that there are women who go through what they believe is a system designed to protect them, and it does not protect them because they don't have the proof, and these things actually did happen. I know that. But if you convict without any proof, then you can convict anybody without any proof. And that's tough, man. That's tough for me to get behind. You know what I mean? Like, and I even still struggle saying that today. I actually struggle saying that, man. But it's the truth, man. I sat there in a courtroom when there was no evidence against me for 2 trials, and I knew there was, and they almost sent me to prison for 60 years of my life.
Crazy.
With no evidence, man. Okay.
See, I'm getting mad now.
Me too, Big Mac, because I know this brother. I know this
wrap
brother.
it up. I'm about to go.
So I just want to say that, man. I do believe everything that Micah said, man. I believe everything that Big Mac. I believe these things, man. But you know, I can't deny my own experience. You know what I mean? I just can't deny my own experience, brother. So, and I will say again that these allegations do have an impact, you know, on the collective of Black men. They just do. and they stir up these conversations like this where we can go back and forth and have honest conversation about, how these things make us feel, how representation in the media impacts us, and all the things, man. We're gonna keep talking. This is not where it's gonna stop. I appreciate y'all listening tonight, allowing me to be vulnerable about some things that I've never really talked about. I'm a little uncomfortable right now talking about them, but hey, if it helps somebody, I'm with it. Okay. All right, y'all. Good night, man. Good night. See y'all next week. We got a good little month coming up for you, man. So I want y'all to stay tuned. We're gonna finish out the year strong. All right. Good night.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all. Take care.
Yes, sir.